Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual luncheon panel, Black Women in Business, Building and Owning the Future We Deserve. I'm Lisa Payton Kerr, CEO and President of the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness, back again with Aaliyah Stevenson, our Chief Programs Officer, who will co-facilitate this incredible panel today with two very special guests. Beatrice Dixon, CEO and founder of the Honey Pot Company, and Jetheda Hernandez, CEO of the Consult Square Group. Welcome, ladies, to today's panel to Black Women's Wellness Day.
So much for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
It's wonderful to see you both here. This is a very anticipated panel. The topic of Black women and business and entrepreneurship has been brought up so much over the course of the last 2 days as we delve into our theme, Building the Future We Deserve. Just in the previous panel with financial expert Kara Stevens, the frugal feminista, she referred to entrepreneurship as the second lever of wealth building. So we're going to dive into that after we do you both a little bit of justice. There's no way we could really describe everything that you bring to the table and all the wonderful work that you're doing, but we're going to try to introduce you to our beautiful audience today who is eager to hear from the both of you. B. Dixon, and I love how your bio is a story. It's a story, and so listen to this story and we'll delve into that more. Beatrice Dixon is the CEO and founder of the Honey Pot Company. She had been suffering with bacterial vaginosis for 8 months when one night an ancestor appeared to her in a dream and provided her with a list of ingredients to heal herself. The concoction worked, and her list of ingredients, the concoction worked, and Dixon realized that she had something special to share. From that visionary dream, the formula for a powerful and effective herb-powered vaginal wash was created. A product was created from a dream and a need. In 2014, Dixon then launched the Honey Pot Company. Wow, launched a whole company. A plant-derived vaginal wellness line created with the goal of providing humans with vaginas healthy alternatives to traditional feminine care products that are free of unwanted chemicals, carcinogens, sulfates, and all the nasty things that shouldn't be in anybody's products that we put so closely to our bodies. The Honey Pot Company system spans the ongoing needs of the all the things that women need, needs of the vagina from birth through menopause, producing an unparalleled complete care system. I don't know if you noticed, B, that behind Aaliyah in our staff office are products on display to show the full array, and there are boxes more that you are so gracious to send to us that we are actively giving away to teen girls and women of all ages over the course of this weekend who will experience the beauty of these products who have now become a mainstay in our office for ourselves and our guests. So you've got new committed customers as well.
Thank you.
Yes, the Honey Pot Company's products can be found online and in stores nationwide at Target, Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Amazon, Bed Bath & Beyond, Wegmans, and other retailers. So in a community near you, you can access the Honey Pot Company products, and you can say that you met their CEO and founder at Black Women's Wellness Day. Welcome, B.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, also with us is founder and CEO of Consult Square Group, my dear lifelong friend, Jetheda Hernandez, Richmond, Virginia native. Jetheda Hernandez has been a national advocate for entrepreneurship and economic mobilization for over 20 years. As a successful business owner, entrepreneur, social media strategist, and speaker, and I saw you evolve into all these beautiful things, Jet.
Oh, thank you, Lisa.
Yes, Jetheda has created buzz with her business savvy, natural leadership, and selfless partnership creation. As the founder and CEO of Consult Square Group, a full-service business development and growth firm. Consult Square Group works on the front lines to ensure businesses have the tools they need for scale and growth. Two very important things to talk about seriously. It's not enough to start a business. Scale and growth are crucial. And I know you have thoughts to lend to that, B, as I recently read about you scaling, growing, and ultimately doing something new and powerful beyond Honeypot. So we'll talk about that. Most recently, Jetheda also became a franchise owner of Card My Yard Howard, a celebration sign and banner company. Wow. So multiple streams of income, multiple business ventures. By day, Jetheda also serves as the senior advisor for external affairs for the U.S. Minority Business Development Agency. In this capacity, she manages relationships of over 250 corporations and organizations across the country, working to build alliances that aid in the growth, sustainability, and success of minority businesses. And I've seen you on social media, Jet, at Essence Fest, at major federally sponsored events, city, county, statewide mobilization of entrepreneurs in business. And I'm so deeply impressed by the incredible investments and relationships you've built to promote us in business. Her broad experience in marketing and strategic consulting solutions for notable corporations like Sony Entertainment, BET, BMG Records, MTV, and Viacom Networks have sharpened her expertise in national marketing, public affairs, sales, and corporate and community relations. And she has done award-winning work with multiple accolades. So, wow, what a panel we have today with these two outstanding leaders in business and entrepreneurship. And we're going to dive right in to the questions. And I'll start. So I've introduced you. I've introduced you both, but we really want to hear you introduce yourselves and share in your own words just a bit about you, your companies, your work, and your passion. Starting with you, B.
So, it's always so funny when somebody asks me to explain myself because the word that comes in my mind is just here. I try not to think too hard about it, so it's always different, you know. But I am a human who's existing and having a spiritual experience.
Yes.
And you know, I am also a co-founder of the Honeypot Company. You know, we make beautiful, beautiful, beautiful vagina products, and we sell them to mass market retailers, which I'm very grateful for. You know, and our whole purpose with Honeypot is really to educate, to empower, to love, to accept the humans that come to us, whether they can buy our products or whether they just support our message. You know, because not everybody can buy our products. We're fully aware of that. But yeah, so like that's what we do. And, you know, and personally who I am, you know, I am, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be having this conversation. And I'm really grateful to be in the positions and the rooms and the stores and the humans' homes that we're in.
Yes, well, you're in my home, my office, our homes, our office. You might be in my car and my extra stash in the trunk. And we thank you for following your vision that we'll talk about in creating this beautiful thing that's now real and impacting all of our lives in one of the most intimate ways possible. Jetheda, tell us a little bit about you, your work, your company, your passion, and all the multiple ways that you're operating in the world.
Yeah. Look, I'm just excited to be here. When I saw B's name, I was like, oh my goodness, this is such an honor. A quick funny story. I was speaking at Essence a couple years ago in the convention center, and the booth that I was speaking at was next to the marketplace, next to where Honeypot was set up, right? So I'm walking over to our booth. Anybody who's ever been to the Essence Festival in the convention center, you know that this is like, I mean, insane. I mean, it's tons of people moving everywhere. So by the time,
and what happened is that they were giving free stuff away in the area right behind us. So it was more crazy.
So I get over to the booth that I'm supposed to be speaking. By the time I get there, my heels, my legs, everything, I'm just so sore. And so I sit down, I'm smiling, talking to people. And it was a guy that was at your booth, the Honey Pot booth. And he was trying to talk to me about the products. And I said, if you don't have anything to stop this pain in my heel, then I can't even listen to you. He was like, I got you.
I remember
Yes, he pulled out this solve. It has like some CBD or something in there. I have been hooked ever since. Okay, that was my quick story and why yes. Now we're connected by the hip. Same with Lisa. Honey Pot can be found all through my house. In many different capacities. But yes, as Lisa mentioned, I'm Jetheda Hernandez. I see this beautiful picture of your mom in Aaliyah's background. And it really, Lisa and I come from very similar backgrounds, a whole family of women entrepreneurs that really have brought us and led us to where we are. And coming out of college, I had no aspirations to be an entrepreneur whatsoever, even though everybody in my family literally was a Black female entrepreneur. And when I went to school, you go to college and it's like, you go to college, you get this degree, you get a good job, you move. That was the course that we were kind of led down in the matriculation where I went to college. And so I never really thought about it until, those paychecks rolled in, and it didn't matter what I was making, from making $25,000 a year to making, $500,000 a year. It's still at the end of the month, your account is at $2. So, more money, more problems. And, the only way that, I saw to get myself out was looking back at Nene, who that is, Lisa, looking back at my grandmother, looking back at my mom and everything that they had done to build that wealth through business ownership in order to create those opportunities for myself and for my family. And it just so happened that professionally, I was doing exactly that. I lead at the Minority Business Development Agency. I lead our Enterprising Women of Color program, which is a national initiative to grow and really have businesses of color founded by women grow in size and scale. And so delighted to do that. And it was really why I kind of stay in the 9-to-5 space, because I get to lead such a lovely initiative. But in addition to that, as you mentioned, I do have my own consulting firm, which I know we'll dive into a little bit more, and the franchise. I also am an adjunct professor at Coppin State University, where I teach the babies all about entrepreneurship and business and how to make those smart decisions from a young age.
Wow, you almost put me into tears, Jet, when you alluded to my mother. Yes, Roberta Payton, I will call her by name, which is the beautiful face you've all seen this weekend. She was an entrepreneur. She was a business owner. She owned a hair salon. And actually, your background, B, is really reminding me of my mother's hair salon, because it was long and narrow, just like that space behind you. It was called the Beauty Hut, because it was a small little place in downtown Richmond, Virginia. And she was a young Black woman coming out of segregation, who was born in a time where opportunities that we experience today, even with the barriers, the opportunities we have, were things that were not accessible to her and my aunts. But they were inspired by Madam C.J. Walker, the queen of the Black hair care movement. And in that generation, mounds of young Black women chose not to work in factories, not to work at the cigarette factory, not to work at A.H. Robinson Chemicals. And those who did was fine. But my mother said, I want a different path, and I want to struggle. I want to build wealth. I want to build legacy. And her little hair salon, the Beauty Hut, did that for our family for generations until she passed away 15 years ago at the age of 64. She raised and elevated our entire immediate and extended family. And as Jet knows, many others in our community, because when Black women become stable pillars, they pour back into community, as I can see through both of you. And so your grandmother and your mother. We all grew up in the same community and church, the same thing. She was also a cosmetologist, and those Black beauty shops built entire communities and built stability. And we are here today in our roles and capacities as Black women because of those women whose shoulders we stand on. So giving that story as background, this is personal. And to tell all in our listening audience, we are building legacy when we're talking about entrepreneurship and business ownership. And when we stay in the 9 to 5, when we choose that for greater reasons and purposes for building stability. Thank you both for introducing yourselves.
Thank you.
Yes, so we are inspired by the increasing numbers of Black women who are entering into entrepreneurship. We know that Black women are the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs in this country. We know that's being impacted by COVID. We absolutely know. I've got an article sitting next to me from Forbes magazine, which talks about some of the really incredible and concerning impact, but yet and still that trend of Black women enterprise is not changing. Black women are breaking new ground, blazing new trails, creating solutions that we need through innovative products like UB dreamed up a thing that was missing, that was needed, and here it is operating and impacting lives. Can you tell us what inspired you to pursue entrepreneurship as a viable pathway, B?
I, in some form or fashion, have always been an entrepreneur. So I've, when I told my mom, because I was going to be turning 15, that I wanted to get my driver's permit, she was like, great, that's cool. But if you want to do that, you're going to have to get a job and you're going to have to save up some money and you're going to have to pay for yourself to go to driving school. And so I was like, run it. I'm just going to do that, and I, at the time when you're young, you don't realize it, but what she did for me was really beautiful because she put me on the path of having to sort myself out, right? She never just gave me anything, she gave me a lot, but she never, if it was something outside of like the stuff that she had to do, it was like, you're going to have to contribute because I don't have that kind of money to be doing that, And then she also knew in some form or fashion that, that I wouldn't really respect it unless I put some money in, or unless I kind of, I forget what the terminology is, but unless I was there for it too, unless I worked for it. And so that really made me into an entrepreneur very young. Different, just in case everybody knows or doesn't know, the difference between an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur works a 9 to 5, but they treat that job as if it is their business, right? Because you respect it, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. And so when my mom did that for me, that kind of put me on this track to be able to always be in a position to take care of myself. And so I think that it started at a young age. And then it turned into survival. I moved to Atlanta back in 2005. And when I moved here, I had like $800 in my pocket. Like I didn't really have a lot of money, but I got a job here and I came, and, but that job wasn't enough for me to survive. So I ended up starting a cleaning business with my friend Tasha. I started, we did organizing. I cooked for people. I was an artist model. I was like just doing everything. Right. And I didn't realize that was even more building me up for what was to come, because now not only was I entrepreneurial, but I was also entrepreneurial because I had to like do my own thing for me to survive. Right. And so once Honey Pot was born through my vagina issues, right? Like my coochie has been acting up for a long time, it still acts up. She still acts up from time to time. But I'm grateful for the act up because if my vagina didn't blow up at that time, I wouldn't have been in the mind state to be able to be in a dream state to meet my grandmother who had transitioned many years ago. And it probably wasn't just my grandmother. That was probably the culmination of all of my ancestors showing up as one human, you know? And so, so I think like that then turned into responsibility, you know, and for me, it is never lost on me that I don't know what my ancestors had to do to travel through dimensions, to meet me in a dream, to tell me what to do for it to work, for me to then have clarity to start Honeypot. I don't know the shit that took place in order for that to happen, right? And so I just have too much respect for it. And for me, there's just no backsies on it. Like, you know, I'm not a human who does things just to do it. Like if I'm putting my time, my attention, my space, my clarity, my words, my everything, it's like all or nothing. I'm not a gray area person.
Yes.
And so that's what keeps me moving. The way my mother brought me up, the way my vagina and my body acted up, the way that I've got this hustle mentality, because there's nothing that I won't do to survive. Nothing. Right? Like I've been homeless before. That shit is not fun. I don't want to go back there. Right? And so for me, and not only that, like I got people that rely on me. I got to look after my mommy. I got to look after my brother. Like I have an avenue that will at some point make me a millionaire many times over. Right. And so if I don't have respect for that, I'd be silly, you know? And so I guess that's why.
I don't know right now, B, why your words are moving me to tears. I am moved in my spirit by every word you just said. And I see in the chat that everyone is feeling, and I'm sensing are feeling this. Yes, there's been an energy shift from the both of your presence in here. You've called in the ancestors a couple times, and they are with us. I feel that. The spirits of our mothers and that collective body of ancestors who deliver all of us our dreams and our vision are right there with us. Thank you for that beautiful, beautiful reply on your inspiration. Jet, tell us about your inspiration to pursue entrepreneurship and to support so many others in doing the same.
Sure. And right with you. I'm moved as well. I'm trying to contain my words and emotions. But there are a couple reasons. You know, one, what I explained before, and just coming from that background. Another, I'm not a good employee. I'm really not a good employee. And you can ask people, even at the agency that I'm with now, even though I'm there, I still have a very entrepreneurial space that I operate in. I don't necessarily have a whole lot of, interaction with any, I own what I own there, and everything else, is, yeah. But I think that's a huge reason, is that I really have a spirit of independent, kind of work and space. And coming there every day, being able to have control, that's one of the biggest reasons that women say that they go into entrepreneurship, is because you have that control over your future, over your time, over your money. And that's a huge deal. It for me, having the freedom, and we'll talk about COVID and talk about some of the effects of COVID later. But it's just a big win for me, being an entrepreneur and I'll tell a quick story. And this is, it's funny, but it's sad, because this was 20 years ago. I get out of college and I'm working for, I won't say the name, but a television network that was created for Black people. And, again, I'm this entrepreneur, right? I have all these great ideas. So I come up with this fabulous idea for the network. I did on-air marketing. So I created commercials and things like that. But I had this great idea for this kind of reality-based marketing pitch. So I have a conversation with the CEO at the time. And he looks at me and says, this is my company. And as long as this company is making me money, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And literally, I went back to my little cubicle and sat there and cried. One, because he had talked to a woman in that manner. And at the time, again, I was 22 years old. And then second, because he was dead ass right. Like, this is his company and he can do whatever he wants to. And until I have something that I own, I will never have that ability to say yes or no to anyone else. And I made a promise that when I do get in that position, I'm going to say yes to as many people that look like me as possible. So, that was an experience to me that kind of pushed me into the space of, I need to control, I need to own something beyond just, what this 9 to 5. So I think all of those things pushed together my family, this kind of entrepreneurial spirit, my, just ability to not want to work. And also that one experience kind of snowballed into where I kind of launched my path. That passion for wealth creation and entrepreneurship as a path of legacy building for women of color evolved over time to build me into a voice and a national advocate for it. As we look at the numbers, as we look at, the facts behind women of color, Black women, they're really high. That we tout that it's the fastest growing segment of all other, genders and races. Yeah, it's great if you start a business and you put all your paperwork in, but your total sales at the end of the year are $5 because you're still counted as a new business. So, 95% of these businesses have less than one employee. So what is that telling us is that we're starting businesses, but are we able to scale them to a point that we're able to bring in hires, that we're able to bring in people that work for us, that we're actually not just replacing a salary, and nothing is wrong with that. You can start a business and replace your salary and be totally cool. But we're talking about something totally different. And I'm sure B knows this. When you start a business and you're now responsible for other people and the success of their pockets and their livelihood, that's a whole different entrepreneur conversation, because now you're starting to scale and now you're leaving that 95% and now you're in this 5% space. And that is where the opportunity is for us. And that is what my goal is, to transition Black women from the space of, I started this business. There's nothing wrong with it. Again, I just want to keep saying that it's nothing wrong with it at all. But I want more of this 5% right here, more B's, more women that are able to scale their business to a point that we can have conversations with the Targets, the Macy's, all of these stores and companies that getting contracts with, Microsoft and Disney, those are spaces that are unfamiliar to us, and for multiple reasons. Our networks aren't as strong, or our access to capital is not as great. So there's so many barriers that we have to collectively overcome, some with policy, and then some with advocacy and resources. But all of those different avenues are, what I work to help overcome, and then as an entrepreneur myself, try to overcome them myself for myself and my family.
And can I say something?
Yes.
What Jed is alluding to is the difference between a lifestyle business and an enterprise business. Mm-hmm. A lifestyle business is, I just need to make, a couple $100,000 a year. I can live okay. I can eat. It's just me. It relies on you. This is my brother taught me this. An enterprise business, it doesn't need you.
Yeah.
If anything were to happen to you, they will be able to replace you, because everything is replaceable, right? And so it's really important that as you humans embark on your journeys into entrepreneurship, the word deserve is a really weird word for me. No judgment for the thing. I just feel to share a different look at it. For me, it's not about what you deserve. For me, it's about what you want. Because you could deserve all the shit in the world, but if you're not willing to like hustle hard and go for it and lose everything, fuck deserve. What do you want? What are you willing to work for? How hard are you willing to go? How many no's are you willing to hear?
Yeah.
How seriously? Because like you have to understand, y'all, nobody cares.
Right.
And it's not their job to. Sure, there's still sure, Black women are still getting funded less than everybody else. But that ain't no different shit. Like Black people are getting funded, getting a lot of less of everything. So what? Die to it. If you want it, you gotta have it. You gotta go get it. It's yours. If you need something, you gotta work for that shit. It doesn't just come just because you deserve it and just because you put it on a vision board and looked at it every day and called it in. Unless you're willing to like get down in the dirt and eat some shit, because that's what it takes, y'all. This shit is hard, man. And don't let nobody tell you that it's not. You have to be a monster. You have to be maniacal about it. That the focus has got to be so laser that you are only worried about yourself, what you got to do, your family. You don't mind nobody else's business, right? You don't care about what the social media says. You don't care about what the statistic says. You don't give a fuck about shit because you're not a statistic.
Yeah.
Right? So it's really important. I know that this is about what you deserve. Sure, we deserve everything. We are God. We deserve everything because we are everything. However, what are you willing to work for? What are you willing to hustle for?
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of these conversations happening and I do them all the time. Right? But like what I implore the humans that I'm talking to, and this is just my opinion, and Jet, I don't know if you would agree with me. When you learn how to do some shit and you're having all these conversations, you're constantly learning, and thinking that you need a mentor and this and that, and you don't know, you're learning what you can and can't do. But when you just go for it and you don't know what you don't know, you can almost do anything. So sure, we deserve everything, y'all. Understand that this whole Black thing is some bullshit. It's just to keep you in a box. You are human beings. And don't worry about what you can deserve. Just take everything. If you need it, take it. If you want to be a billionaire, go for it. I know I want to be. And so I know in order to do that, I only got time to put my head down, be focused on my family, my love life, my partner, and me. I don't have time for nothing else. So I just wanted to say that because I think that it's important for us to know that. I'm not saying to not take advantage of listening to these conversations because they do. Conversations feed people. But just get out here and get it though. Like you don't have to know everything. Jet and I did not know. We still don't know. That's the thing. That's the funny thing behind it is we don't really know what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, and it's studies that show like the biggest hurdle is just showing up. We talk ourselves out of doing things and having things that are meant for us to have simply because we're scared. We don't want to take the chance. If you show up, you've literally done almost half the work. And I tell my kids all the time, show up and show up on time. Don't be late. Show up and come with some type of expectancy that is already yours. You're just showing up to get it.
Exactly.
I'm just showing up to pick it up because it's already mine.
Yep.
Right.
Look, we appreciate this realness. And I'm just going to personally say, and I saw Leah laugh, and I know why, because here, the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness, we're just going to tell it, came from a vision and a desire. I had no idea how to build a nonprofit organization. I worked in nonprofits, but I had to figure it out. There was no playbook, and there weren't many folks along the way who had the time. We've grown this organization from an idea to a living thing off of grinding and doing the work. We deserve this organization, yes, but we heard Dr. Cheryl Wood say this morning, you got to demand what you want and you got to do the work and go get it, just like you said. So I love this reinforcement. We're not playing games with y'all today. B and Jet are bringing the whole truth, which is all that we need right now, is that we can't talk about it. We can learn through sharing, and we're here to learn. But then we got to take the action. When we get off this conference today, what is the step that you're going to take to do the work to build the vision toward financial independence, security, whether it's through entrepreneurship or your job, whatever it is you're going to do? B, we thank you for putting it on the line the way that it needs to be said. Take it. We're not asking.
Yeah, you can't. And like humans like us that are talking right now, and I'm sure humans that are in the audience, this is like life and death for me, y'all. Yeah. This is like my work.
Ooh, I gotta chill with you.
My ethic. You understand what I'm saying? Like my work, my ethic, my bread, the things that I put my time to. That is like my fucking religion, right? So like understand that you guys may feel this as passion, but it's because like this is my whole life. We live in a society that is driven by wealth, that is driven by pouring into us because we just go out so much. So it's really important that you figure out where you want to be in this world and how you want to be there, because if you're not choosing it, it's being chosen for you.
Yes.
You know, and what I'm talking about is actually not that deep. It may sound very profound, but it's actually not. It's actually just like it's just normal behavior, right? And you can have it. You just, it's just all about what are you willing to do and what are you choosing, and an awareness so that you can have the clarity to understand where you want to go and how you want to do it. Because once you're clear and you're open and you're focused and you're serious, the doors just open for you, but you just have to be in a place to be open enough to receive it.
Absolutely. Aaliyah, how about you jump over to the next question?
I'm trying. I think we're all trying right now. This is a different conversation. I was expecting to get to know some business owners, and we're getting to know some spiritual human beings right now. So B, your business, you talked about it starting as a dream from an ancestor, and then you jumped to now I have Honeypot. Now we know that wasn't the jump right there. And I think all of us are just trying to imagine you in these spaces, navigating these territories with the full human that you are. So can you tell us a little bit about that journey and how you made that journey a reality, and then the finesse, I don't even know if finesse is the word, required to navigate the spaces that you have to show up in these big business stores?
Aaliyah, it is finesse. It's total finesse, right? Because like, like Jet said, you just show up, and you show up and you're ready for it, right? Like you show up like you knew what you were doing, even though you didn't, but I think that it was because my history in work, I used to work in retail. So I worked in pharmacy for like 10 years of my life. Then I left that, and then I went to work at Whole Foods because I didn't want to I was working at hospitals and chemo labs and things like that. And so the energy that I was bringing home every day didn't necessarily feel good. And so I said, even though I was taking a major pay cut, I was like, I need to come out of this space and go into a space that feels more non-toxic, if you will, not that the people were toxic, but what I was dealing in just didn't feel right. And so I left that and I went to work at Whole Foods. And it was there that all of these things started to happen, but, so once Honeypot got started, or really once my vagina started acting up, which that was actually in 2012, right? It was like a year and a half of like our own version of a clinical trial before we went to market. And that's when we launched in 2014. So technically Honeypot started in 2012. We were just giving product away, and getting people to tell us what would happen when they used it, because, you have to make sure that it's not too strong, not too weak, all that kind of stuff. And so that, you know, and then, and so we went for it. And I told my brother, I was like, bro, if this doesn't work, because we went to the Bronner Brothers hair show, if this doesn't work, then I will never bother you about this again. But if this works, this is what's happening. Like, I'm doing this shit, right? And I need your support, because he's my co-founder. He understood money and finance and all that stuff, which I didn't know about, right? I just knew how to make a thing and sell a thing. And that day we sold like 600, that weekend, it was like a 3-day weekend. We sold 600 bottles. That's how much we made. So everything that we made, we sold. And that told us that we had something. And so we just kept doing it. We just kept, that worked for us. So we just kept going to trade shows and hair shows and expos and all those types of things. And then that led to, you know, then I left Whole Foods and I went to be a broker. So now, instead of me dealing with like customers, like the people that shop at Whole Foods, now Whole Foods became my customer. So then that taught me how to talk to buyers. And then that taught me, well, I can probably do that for Honey Pot. You know what I mean? So like, it was literally, I just saw my life and all of my experiences that I was coming up on every day as school. And I would just use that, what I was learning, and then apply that to the business. Like, I would literally, I remember one time I was going to meet with Whole Foods to pitch them, because I worked for like 100 brands, to pitch them maybe 20 out of the 100, right? I was there with my boss and with my partner not my spouse partner, but like my partner in crime at work. And we were finished with the meeting. And I had 5 minutes tops that I could spend talking to that buyer about Honey Pot. Because when was I going to get back in the room with him? To be honest.
Yes.
There's a story behind that, but I don't want to take up too much time. And so what I did was I walked out like I was going to walk out with them. And I said, I have to go to the restroom. I'm going to meet you guys out front. And what I did is I took that minute and I went back into the buyer's office and I said, hey, I only got 2 minutes, but I need you to give me the price that I need. I've showed you that this works. By this time, we had already been in Whole Foods, but we were paying them every time they put in an order, because they didn't allow me to name my price. They wanted me to sell it at the price they wanted it at, kind of to deter me from putting it on the shelf. But I said, cool, I'll take it, because that was what was given to me. And so I went back in and I showed him the data, and I did it in like 2 minutes. I showed him the data and I was like, bro, you know, I can't stay in here. I got to go because my boss is outside. She cannot see me in here doing my own business, because it was a conflict of interest. And he was like, you know what, B, you're right. Tell me the price. Let's put the paperwork in and we'll get it done. So I think it was just like that kind of stuff. And just taking all the opportunities, you know?
I'm just sitting back here thinking this is a movie, right? I don't know if you've sold your story, but this is a movie. And what it also shows is that there was no magic. It was work. It was hard work, and it was strategy, and it was learning every day. And I think that we all need to hear that as we're going through the pain points, we're going through the journey, we're having the learning, as Lisa was talking about. Thank you for sharing.
We've been doing this for almost 10 years, you know, like, so there's luck in it. Like, we're lucky, but that's like 10% of it. The other part was all the work, all the stuff, you know?
Yes.
And we're grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, if I could jump in here, because
go for it.
Made a question rise up to the top for me. And I'm already wishing that we had another hour to just keep going with this conversation. But Jet, I want to ask you, from what B just explained and what you said earlier, you know, that, you know, Black women are going into business at these high rates, but you spoke the truth that, you know, 95% of those businesses are very small, with one person. It's a woman doing something on her own without the capacity to hire someone or scale. And that 5% has reached where B is today, the very small minority. Explore that with us. For folks who are in this chat, they're fired up, they're thinking, I hear wheels turning. But do we truly understand, though B kind of broke it down, of all that it takes in the trenches to get to the place where you can see a honey pot in a beautiful package across the country in dozens of retailers? what does it take and look like to help someone become a business owner of a business that's sustainable and viable? What does it take?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot because everyone who gets into business wants to be like B. They want to see their product, they want to see their services, in front of the masses, and the checks and the contracts just coming down immediately. And unfortunately, that's not how it works. However, that mentality, you have to start with it. So if I start a business and my goal is, I know that ultimately I want to, have my brand on, every flight with American Airlines. That's my goal. So how do I reverse that back to where I am now? I've had conversation with bankers all over the country as it relates to Black women in business, and what is the biggest hurdle. And that hurdle is we're just not prepared. We operate these cash businesses a lot of times. So by the time we can be making millions of dollars on paper, but by the time we need to go to a Bank of America, or another one of these larger banks, to get the funding that we need in order to scale to be in a big box store like a Target, because that's what it takes, is money, so that we have the product in order to give them. They're going to look at us and like, where is this millions of dollars that you have? We don't, there's no paperwork to back this up. So that mentality starts from day one, having an accountant, even if it's like a bartered accountant. Oh, I got a girlfriend who does some books. Girl, can you just do this for me out? Just having that, starting on the right foot, having that organization in your business, even when you're not there yet, because you're going to get there. And that's the first thing they're going to ask you is, let me see what you got. Let me see what you did. Let me see your success. And if you can't show a track record of success, then it's going to be hard for anybody to look at you and say, you know what? I'm willing to gamble on you. I'm going to take this chance and give you this loan, or give you this opportunity, or give you this contract. So it's very important. I meet with women a lot, and that's the number one thing. I sat in a meeting with this woman who had a chain of daycares in South Carolina, and literally a millionaire. You can look at her, you can look at the daycares. She walked into Bank of America with all her millions, and they shot her down. Why? Because when they asked her for a book, she pulls out a little box of receipts, and and it's like, it was heartbreaking, because she had the experience. She had the money in the bank. The money is there, but they want to know, how did it get there? How did they want to see this whole process of your business growth? So it's really just being prepared, and the resources, knowing the resources are there, whether it's from, certifications, being minority certified, women-owned certification, connecting with organizations, SBA, MBDA, all of these different organizations to access these. But for many people, there's a wall of disconnect where those opportunities that we're almost shut out because we don't know that they exist, right? Up until, COVID, when all of these, PPP, EDIL, loan, all these great things that came to surface. But those type of programs are always around. SBA always gives out grants. SBA always gives out loans. SBA has an 8A program. They're around all the time. I think COVID made them popular, and it definitely provided a lot of opportunity for a lot of Black folk. But at the same time, we have to be at the table, and our ears have to be wide open, so we are listening to where these opportunities are 24/7, because they are dropping. Like, this is right now, if you are a Black woman with a business, this is your season. You should be with an umbrella just catching stuff, because the time is right now. Everybody wants to, every business, every corporate, everybody wants to be connected to a Black woman.
Yep.
And it's because of, success like B. It's because of nonprofits like yours, Lisa, that they see the value in Black women. They see our voice, they hear our narrative, and they know the value in it. And so if you are out there looking to grow your business and to be successful as a Black woman, there is no reason right now with everything that's happening that you can't make that happen.
Yeah.
And if you can't, call me. I mean,
I was just going to say, can we call you all on speed dial? I know that there are many women in here who are asking, you know, beyond today, how do we get access to this knowledge? Because it's so rich, it's so truthful. And this is the instruction that we need, you know, from the real bottom line of what it really takes. I know there are folks out there with aspirations. We see people who are about to do entrepreneurship boot camps. We know women in here who have small businesses that they've launched. We've hosted several of them in our space to promote their businesses. But to get to that place where it is solid, scalable, and funded, Aaliyah has a question about that.
I wanted to say something about that too.
Yes, go ahead.
Lisa, can you make sure that Jet and I can be connected?
Absolutely, immediately.
Okay.
This is no accident.
I've already crafted a whole invitation for you, B, for something that I would like to work with you on.
Let's do it. I'm here for it. I wanted to say to what Jet was saying earlier about being able to go into a bank. You guys, we are just now, Honey Pot is just now in the last year able to go to a bank and get a loan that can actually make a difference for our company. Wow. Getting loans from banks are extremely hard. Yes. They want to see, like Jet was saying, they want to see infrastructure. They need to see money in the bank. They need to see assets. They need to see a ridiculous assortment of things. There is so many resources, like Jet was saying, with the SBA and all those things, but also this is why it's intelligent to raise money, you know, because why it's almost necessary, forget about intelligent, why it's also almost needed, desperately needed for you to raise money. And it's also why it's needed as Black people. I try not to focus on race, but what I'm about to say is real. This is also why Black people have to get out of these narratives that exiting and selling companies is selling out.
Thank you.
This is why we have to get out of that narrative. And this is why we're in the spaces that we're in. And this is why we are in the minority. And this is why, less than 2%, but new voices, I think, increase that percentage. This is why we're not given the capital. Yeah, there's some bullshit in there of why we're not given the capital, but let's call a spade a spade. One of the main reasons why Black women or humans, I'm going to call it women, just because when we get something, we hold on to it and we take care of it and we love it and we're loyal to it. That's just who we are naturally, right? But venture capital and private equity is not here to be with you for the rest of your life. If I give you $1 million, I need you to turn that shit into 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 100, right? You don't, venture capital and private equity is not here for you trying to create a legacy with your business. You guys, legacy, I'm not saying legacy cannot happen with business, but legacy happens with liquid.
Right.
It happens with money.
Right.
If you have a little business that does well, then maybe you holding on to it. Maybe it does $10 or $20 million a year. That's cute. That's cool. But if you have a business that's doing $20 million a year, $100 million a year, and there is a strategic or a why is the name escaping me? The Unilevers, a conglomerate. Mm-hmm. A conglomerate for a business that's making 100 million, right, a year, which can happen, you guys. It's not as hard as you think. It's hard. I don't want to make it sound like it's not hard. It's hard, but once you get it, you just keep running it. Mm-hmm. Yes. A business that makes $100 million a year could be sold for $500 million to $1 billion to $2 billion, depending on what it is. Can be sold for an absurd amount of money. Mm-hmm. $500 million is a lot of money. And even if you've raised capital a few times, maybe at the end of the day you own, let's call it a small percentage of your company. If you've raised several times, maybe you own 10% of your company. 10% of $500 million is $50 million. That is lifetimes of money. That's money that can be put into a trust, that can have a money market manager at Goldman Sachs, right? Because the minimum to work for Goldman Sachs to manage your money is 25 million. You could literally say to Goldman Sachs, I want to live off of interest. I want to make 10 to 15% interest a year on my money. That means now you can just live off of $5 million a year. You're not even touching your money. Your money is just sitting somewhere, just growing for you, right. Just working.
And that's your legacy. And that's the legacy.
That's a legacy.
Yeah.
Now that you can take to the bank. But a business that you want to pass down to your children, what if, say that shit is mean. What if your children don't want to run your business? What if because nobody cares but you. We have to, this is part of the reason why there is so many limitations. If the private equity groups, the big banks, the strategics start seeing more Black women exiting, growing, scaling, exiting their companies, guess who they gonna give money to? To Black women. So it's our responsibility, ladies, and then guess what can happen after you exit a business? Even if you exited it for 100 million, guess what you can do again? You can start another business.
Start it up.
Start another business. You can, and this time you don't even got to ask nobody for shit because it's yours. Like, you got the bread. And then guess what you can do? Then you can really raise some money because they know that you're good for it. You're Gucci gold. Like, this bitch sold her business for $500 million. Give her some money.
Yeah.
That's how this works, you guys. Get to it. Get to it. This is not, it is not, if I can do it, you can do it. I never finished college. I only really went to high school. Honestly, y'all, you can do it. You can do it. You just have to die to the notions and the things that we've been taught because you've been conditioned a certain way so that you stay in a certain place. It's conditioning, their mechanisms, their constructions that were built just to keep you there. So, yeah.
Oh, all right. You know, you all, I'm about to jump up out of my chair. I'm having a hard time sitting still right now. I'm so excited. I'm so feeling this elevation. You all are taking us to places that folks don't usually take us. And we're all operating at different levels, and you all are operating at a level that we needed to hear from today because our mindsets have to be stretched. You're taking us to a place that's the pinnacle of where we can be. And I want every Black woman listening to know that we're not aiming for the bottom level or the middle ground. We're aiming for the pinnacle. When we talk about what we deserve and what we're willing to demand and work for, this conversation is where our minds have to be. We're hearing about things that many of us think is unreachable for us, but we're hearing B and Jet tell us it's not unreachable. Right. This is not for somebody else.
For you.
This level of ownership and wealth and business and entrepreneurship is not for those folks out there, as B said, that we've been conditioned to believe it's easier for them. They've got the access. They know better. They've got people to teach them. They've got people to pass it on. That part may be true.
No, sister, no, Lisa. Me and Jet figured this shit out on our own. I'm sorry. Like we had people along the way, but these types of conversations were not happening. So there are resources now. There's always resources once you got it. When you got it, that's when everybody want to give it to you. And it's like, you could have given it to me. You could have gave me the game 10 years ago. Imagine where I would have been by now. But it wasn't for it to be given. You got to do this shit on your own.
And no one tells you when you're in college, you know, for the majority of Black folk that are going to college, we're getting out all these loans and all kinds of, you know, so when you graduate, we're already starting at a deficit. You know, and that goes against, you know, and they say that, you know, for what is it, every for Black people make 82 cents on the dollar that white people make, you know, and it's like we're already starting at a deficit because of information that we just didn't have. It wasn't out there as, as prevalent as it is now, so you get out of college, you got 50, maybe more $1,000 worth of debt. How long does it take you to pay that off? Making $50,000 a year, and you living balling out of control, only got $5 in your savings. You're spending your entire life paying off debt. So it's hard to climb up out of that to even make sense of, now I want to risk it all to start a business, because you're not in that position. Meanwhile, Timothy, whose family, Karen, whose family raised her, sent her to college on their legacy money. She came out, with a nice chunk of money that they're giving her, asset that they're giving her. There's a big difference between Jet and Timothy, because I'm just trying to get out of this debt that I've built for myself, and know that way. You can't tell me about, okay, now that you have all this debt, I want you to think about starting a business. Who's going to pay these loans? Who's going to pay these student loans? I can't even think about that. I couldn't even think about any of that. So I think to B's point, the information is there. It's there now. So there should be no, I didn't know. It's there. For us, it wasn't there. Everyone I know that went to college with me came out with the same amount of debt, if not more than I had. It's sad. It's sad. And I'm over 40 years old, and I just paid off my student loans maybe 2 years ago. Well, and I literally thought I would die with them.
You're ahead of me, sis. You're ahead of me. You're ahead of me. But I'm on track. We're gonna close this out with the last question. Aaliyah, if you can pose the last question to Jet, and then B. I don't know how to leave this session. I want to remain in this space for so long, but I want you both to commit that this won't be our last time coming together in this space.
Absolutely.
Aaliyah.
Okay, I'm blown away, but Jet, what closing thoughts do you want to leave with our guests around the theme, building the future we deserve? So we'll hear from Jet, then we'll hear from B.
Yeah, I would just say, it's important to chart your own path. We sit here and we talk about entrepreneurship as one of the ways, to chart your own future and to create your destiny and your legacy. It's one way. There's all kinds of investing, there's real estate, there are a lot of ways. Don't be complacent is key. It's great. It's cool to make 6 figures, to make 7 figures at a job. But if you're not in a space where that job and that money is creating more wealth and more money for you, so that you don't wake up with the exact same of money, if not less than you went to sleep with, then you need to start thinking about ways that you can build asset generating wealth for yourself and for your family. That's key. Even if it's not entrepreneurship, find at least one thing. That's my challenge. Find one thing that can be asset generating for you this year. Entrepreneur, whatever it is, even if you open up a savings account that's giving you, a moderate, return on your savings, think about one thing that you can do in order to generate some type of asset building wealth for yourself. And slowly over time, you will see that thing work for you. Entrepreneurship was my way. And I have the blessing and the benefit to have a lot of knowledge about it and a lot of connections to tools. So please connect with me if entrepreneurship is your path and you would like to learn more about how to grow, start, scale, whatever it is. Connect. I'm happy to give you some directive. I don't know everything, but I know a lot of people that I can connect you with. So it was an honor to be here. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you, Aaliyah. It was great to have this conversation with you, B. I too, like Lisa, don't want it to end. I have a lot more that I could say and want to hear and ask, but it's been great. Will there be a way for the information to be passed, the contact? Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Okay.
One thing. So there's a challenge in the chat. Write your one thing, write it down on a sheet of paper, put it up, and then don't just write it down. It's not a vision board. Do it. So B, what is your closing thoughts that you want to leave with our guests around our theme, building the future we demand, maybe for you instead of deserve?
Yeah. So just do it and be actionable about it. And don't dilly-dally. Don't be afraid. Also take care of yourself and take care and understand that when you are on the path to greatness, when you're on the path to building a company, to building scale, to making money, you have to be in a certain place within yourself. So you have to really start with you. That starts with you. How do you feel about you? Are you anxious? Are you depressed? Are you sad? Do you like how your body looks? When you see yourself, do you feel love? Do you feel kindness? Are you humble? Do you project? Right? Are you threatened by other people doing well? You have to really get into this stuff to figure out where you're at, because it's so important that you get yourself to a good place, that you get responsible for you. You're not in anybody else's business. You don't care about what your girlfriend's doing, who she's screwing, who's doing this, who's doing what. You're not concerned about gossip. You're not concerned about nobody but you. It's just you and your family and your love and you understand what I'm saying? So you have to get to a place within yourself where you're well. Yes. I think that is the most important thing. And, and then get real serious and tedious about what you want and dream. Begin with the end in mind. Understand what you're going to write this thing down right now. But what does that mean? I remember years ago, I wrote myself a check for $1 million and I put it on my ceiling above my bed. And I would look at it every single day. I had started Honey Pot by now, but I would look at it unconsciously. I'm looking at feel like I'm looking at it right now because I remember it so vividly. And I would look at it every day. And I had an avenue, I had a mechanism, I had a thing that could deliver that to me because I wanted that physically for me, right? And I would unconsciously look at it when I'm sleeping. My third eye is looking at it, and I would just do that, right? And I put intentionality into that thing. And these are things that you can do. If when you're trying to figure out how to love yourself, put a note in all the places where you look at every day, on the mirror, in the bathroom, on the back of the toilet, in your car where the speedometer is. A little note by the radio or where the shifter is, right? Get aware. Start reading some books. Things that I used was the Mastery of Love, the 5 Agreements, or
yes. The 5 Agreements.
Yes. Is it the 4 Agreements? The 5 Agreements.
The 5 Agreements. Okay. I don't know how many, but we're gonna find out and put it in the tab. But I read that too.
Because there's a 5th agreement that Don Miguel Ruiz's son. The 4 Agreements is what it's called, and then there was a 5th agreement that was written by his son later. Get into meditation and getting quiet. Get into things that can get you into you. We spend so much time going out, even through our religions. We do. Make you your religion, right? And when you can do that, you can get well, you can get here, present right now, and you don't have so many things in your mind bogging you down, And I just think that is one of the most important things that you can do, because when you can think clearly, then you can execute. And also make a goal to pay off all your debt. Yes. Jet gave you something there, man, because you have to be at a place where you can operate. You can't be worried about what you got to do. If you can't pay yourself at the end after you pay all your bills, if you can't buy something extra, right? Don't be worried about that. Get your bills taken care of. Do what you have to do. I'm not saying eat ramen noodles and stuff like that. Eat well, but get your house in order, and do not worry about anything outside of your house. If it isn't your house, it isn't any of your business. So just focus on your business, your stuff, your mind, your wellness. If you're with somebody that you're not really truly in love with, change that shit, move it out of the way, because you have got to be focused. And if you're doing things that you're not fully focused with, that you're not really in love with, that you're not really connected to, it's not doing anything but pulling you away from the things that you really need to do. And so that's probably more than one thing, but you know, but yeah. This works for humans. This works for humans. Yes.
We have been elevated today. We have been magnetized. We have been empowered. I am full. I have so many thoughts. I'm kind of in a state of shock right now, in the best of ways, with all of the wisdom and the love that I'm feeling in this session, the genuity of everything that we've been shared with today. We are grateful for you, B and Jet, for spending this brief time with us, but you have changed many things for many of us in just that small bit of time. We will stay in touch, you all. Let's snap up and clap up these beautiful, amazing, transformational guests. I feel transformed in this hour. And I'm walking away with more power than which I came into this session. With that, take this power, you all, and put it in all the places you need it. And we will see you back shortly on the main stage after a brief fitness break with Kina. And then we'll delve into getting the mental wellness we deserve. Thank you, ladies. We love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love you guys. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, B. This was great.
Talk to you soon.